हाँ कौन भी बताइए अपने ज्वाइनिंग वो कर देंगे लेकिन हमें बता क्या करना है मैं मिक्स कर दीदी वो अच्छी की नहीं दीदी
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy Choti Diwali to all of you. And thank you so much for making time to, on a Diwali day, which is usually fun and festivities, to come and attend and join the satsang. We could do a quick round of going around and telling our names because I see some new faces here. My name is Shraddha-devi Dasi and I'm from Positive City. How about you?
Ram Narayan.
Ram Narayan.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
I'm Fred Landers.
Fred. Hi, Fred.
Ritu
Ritu. Hi, Ritu.
Sure.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for hosting us, you and Pushpa.
Gopal.
Gopal Prabhu, you sing.
Okay.
Yeah, Pushpa, you sing very nicely. I could hear you like 2 blocks away. And I was like, who's singing? This is very nice singing going on there. Very nice. Yeah. But
Guinea
Guinea. Sona, of course, I know. Deepika.
baby
And baby. Okay, good. Right, so we are continuing on ours, and that's my husband Rakesh sitting at the back. So we'll continue for the rest of the sessions that we have together as a team. We'll continue to read this book for questions asked, and we have been progressing very slowly on this, which is good because we are doing very deep reading on that. So we have done just a little bit in 2 sessions. In the first few sessions, we just went over the first few pages of the book. And so what's the name of the book? Hmm? What's the name of the book?
questions a pathway to inner
A
peace
pathway to inner peace, right? So that's what we're going to do. This is scrutinized reading that we just don't absolutely answer things. Because then if we add a pathway to inner peace, then the topic and the subject of the book is justified. But why should I ask 4 questions? And which are the 4 questions I should ask? The reason is that I want to have some inner peace because we all agree peace doesn't come from outside. And then we read the preface of the book, which is on page number 13. And so we did that part, right, in 2 sessions. And now today we are going to go to acknowledgements. And this book has been written by His Grace Vaisheshika Das Prabhu, who is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada is the founder of ISKCON. So those of you who have heard about ISKCON, he was the one who came in 1965 to USA and he established ISKCON, International Society of Krishna Consciousness. Krishna meaning the Sanskrit word for God. And he's also my spiritual master. So before we get into page 15, and the way we go about in these sessions is that we pass the mic around and everybody gets a chance to read one paragraph. So like you will read one paragraph and we'll pause here, then we'll discuss that one paragraph, then we'll go to the next paragraph. So that way we'll go. And I'll be speaking for about next 40 minutes here. So before we do that, we'll just do a quick prayer to the spiritual master. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Okay, so what this verse in Sanskrit means is that I am paying my obeisances or I'm bowing down to my spiritual master who has opened my eyes. So I was in the deep depths of ignorance and he has opened my eyes to the spiritual knowledge. So I'm bowing down to him, and especially because we are going to go deeper into spiritual knowledge with this book here. Okay. So without much ado, let us get started on reading it. If Prabhu, you can read the first paragraph.
this speech
Page 15, acknowledgements. That's right, yeah, 15. And you can use a microphone because there are people watching this on Facebook and YouTube as well as on Zoom. So if you don't use a mic, they won't be able to hear you. Just one paragraph. Everybody got page 50, right? Okay.
Acknowledgements. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
My thanks to Dharma Priya Nasa, who helped mightily on the first draft of the book. To
Kalachandji.
Shraddha-devi Dasi.
If
I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, no problem. Ekachakra.
Because I don't have my glasses.
You don't have your glasses on. You can read. Yeah.
So,
Oh, your mouth. You can read.
beautiful.
Yeah. Why don't you read? You have to speak in the microphone, please.
My thanks to Dan Kriya Dasa, who helped mightily on the first draft of this book, to Kala Chanji Dasa, Ekachakra Prana Dasa, and Anupama Dasa. The book's Polish editors, to Adam Ilinabas and Kaishori Dasi, who gave invaluable feedback to the artists without whose expertise and creative contributions this book would not have been the same. To my friend Bhagavata Asraya, with his expansive vision, and everyone on the production team.
Thank you. So I just wanted to point out here that the author is giving his acknowledgements. There are a few names that we read, and to you they might just appear to be names, but I just want to add that quite a few of them are his disciples. And so I just wanted to bring this out that as people progress in devotional service, there's one element that increases a lot in them, and that is humility or danya. Utter humility is danya, called danya in Sanskrit. And so he's a spiritual master, he's the boss of, I know Ekachakra is his disciple, Anupam Das is his disciple, Adam Lanbas is one, and Danakri is also his disciple. But for a spiritual master to, he could have just asked his disciples to go work for him, do this research, polish, check for grammar and all that. But to be acknowledging them, upfront in his book, and to acknowledge them at the forefront, that is actually showing how important it is to be humble in life. And one of the things that we also mentioned, and you might have seen me also do here, is that before we even started this discussion and me sitting on this Vyasasana and being kind of like the sage on the stage, we always remember our spiritual master, because without the spiritual master, we are nothing. And they are the ones who bring us to whatever level that we are in here. And this is something that we learn. So spiritual masters are also not just gurus. Somebody who's higher than a guru is called as an acharya. So a guru is somebody who teaches you. Like a math teacher can come and teach you math, physics teacher comes and teaches you math, exercise. I once remember I went to San Mateo College and I joined in one of those classes where they teach you how to run. And before that, I had gone to a yoga class. So when we went there, we had a teacher there. And so she was teaching us stretch exercises before we start the run. And so she said, okay, now stretch this, stretch that. And she said, it might be very difficult for you. But, me and a couple of my friends who were coming straight from my yoga class, for us, it was nothing to stretch, before this. So we did that. And then the teacher said, like, oh, wow, you guys are so good. Your bodies are so flexible. And I'm not that flexible. So I was just left wondering, like, he's a teacher teaching me sprinting, and how come our body is not flexible? So one thing to keep in mind is that a guru is more effective when he preaches by his example and does whatever he's preaching. So and Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that if you are in a higher position, like you're a leader, then it's a very common thing that whatever you do, the common man is going to follow you. So it becomes even more bigger responsibility. And that's why you see that the acharyas through their behavior. And I remember, I'm forgetting the name of the priest. He was a Christian priest. And so he was teaching to his disciples. And so disciples were asking, like, so how much should I preach? How much should I preach? How many hours should I dedicate for preaching? And he said that, well, you should preach 24 hours a day. And then sometimes you should speak. So that was really an eye opener that, speaking does not mean speaking. It's actually doing what you're supposed to do. And so by writing this acknowledgement right in the front of the book, he's demonstrating to us that what real humility is, to acknowledge that your student is at a level where he's polishing what you have written, right? How difficult it is to acknowledge that, right? So just want to bring that point out in this book. And then the next paragraph, who's going to read that next paragraph is the lucky person because it's a really big paragraph. Who has the microphone?
My deepest gratitude goes to my primary spiritual teacher, my guru, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who introduced me to the practice of asking the right questions. Students add Srila to the names of their teachers to indicate that their teachers not only live in the beauty of reality, but also awaken it in others. AC stands for Abhay Charanavinda, one who is fearless. Bhaktivedanta is a title given to one who has acquired complete knowledge of the Vedas, and the honorific title Prabhupada means that he is a sadhu, because he not only practiced bhakti yoga, but also taught by example, bringing thousands of new sadhus into the practice who could also teach the Vedas for the benefit of all living beings. Prabhupada spread Vedic wisdom to every continent of the world and showed by example how to apply it. I was the recipient of his teachings in my youth, and I continue to benefit as I enter the youth of my old age.
I like that phrase, enter the youth of my old age. So you can still feel young when you're entering old age. So he's continuing on with his gratitude. And the first gratitude, as I mentioned earlier, is that the first gratitude always goes to the spiritual master. Just give me a second. I need to make sure that people can join here in the waiting room here. Okay. All right. So first gratitude he's giving to his spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And I mentioned that Prabhupada was the one who came to USA. And a little bit about him, just for our inspiration, is that he came at the right young age of 69 to USA. He came in a merchant navy ship where you don't have doctors, it's full of merchandise and maybe a free kid, things like that. He suffered 3 heart attacks as the ship crossed the Atlantic Ocean and came to Boston. And he came here with only 40 rupees, which is like 50 cents today, in his pocket, but he had a set of books. And from that situation, for the next 13 years or 14 years that he was on the planet, he left the planet in 1977. He founded ISKCON, International Society of Krishna Consciousness. He established that. He went around the globe 14 times to various countries. He established 108 temples. He wrote 80 books and made 5,000 disciples. And then, of course, we are his grand disciples, like being disciples of his disciples. So his name came in one of those books, I think Fortune 500 books, as people who were very successful after the 60s. And he's a rare thing. Certain things that Srila Prabhupada did cannot be accomplished by human, capabilities. So he definitely had divinity in him. And so Vaisheshika Das, the writer, also my Guru Maharaj, he is expressing his gratitude to Srila Prabhupada. And one of the things that he mentioned is that his name was Abhay Charanavinda, one who is fearless. And why? So do you have any fears? Anybody has fear? You're honest. I'm afraid all the time. I'm afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of layoffs. Right? So he's saying, but his name was Abhay. Abhay means fear, and Abhay, when you add an A to it, becomes the opposite. So Abhay means fearless. And so what makes a person fearless? Right? So a person like when a small child is there and some other children are beating that child, so that child will run and go stand behind the father, and he feels fearless. Okay, now I am behind my father will take care. So when you have surrendered to somebody who can take care of all your needs and take care of you in all circumstances, then you become fearless. And that person, by definition, who can take care of all your needs. For example, our parents take care of our needs, right? They know she might need a book. They might, the mom can cook for you, the father will earn the money for you. So they can take care of certain things. But if you're sick, the parents cannot take care of you. You need a doctor, like that, right? Similarly, when we are dying, nobody can do anything about it. We have to die. So a person becomes fearless when he is behind a person who can solve all the problems that you have in life, birth, death, old age, and disease. And no human being can do that or animal can do that. The only person who can do that is God. And so one who is surrendered to God, that person can be called as Abhay. And Charanavinda is one who is taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. That person becomes, that person is called Abhay Charanavinda, right? And then Bhakti Vedanta is, Vivek also mentioned, the Bhakti Vedanta is a title that is given to people, right? People will have Bhakti Vedanta, Bhakti Siddhanta, Bhakti Vaibhava, Bhakti Shiromani. There are different types of titles that are given. So Vedas, we all know, right? How many Vedas are there? 4 Vedas, right? So 4 Vedas are there, and so people read the Vedas. But then Ant means end of something. So Vedanta means when the Vedas have ended, in the sense that you have read all the 4 Vedas with the thousands of verses which are there. Then what are you supposed to do after, and what is the level that you will reach after you have read all the Vedas, right? So then to do that, to understand what is the level that you reach after you read the Vedas, you have to understand what is there in the Vedas, right? For example, if I say I'm going to Stanford, I'm going to major in physics, then I will know, okay, end of 4 years, she will be able to do these things, right? If I'm engineering, I know that. So Vedanta, so what do the Vedas tell us? So the Vedas basically tell us 4 things, right? Dharma, Arth, Kam, and Moksha. Right? The 4 things that the Vedas are going to tell you. So Dharma is that how you religiosity. What are the do's and the don'ts? If it's Diwali, you should light a lamp. If a child is born, you should do some yajna. If you're getting married, you should bring a priest. All that. So that is dharmic. You should give some donations. You should feed the poor. All that is dharma, right? Arth is economic gain. So for us to live happily in this world or with some semblance of happiness in this world, I need to have some money. I need to be economically sound. So the Vedas are also going to tell you how to become economically sound. If I want to become rich, I want to establish a factory, and they all tell you that, for this sacrifice, for this one, this is this sacrifice you do, for achieving that goal, you do that sacrifice. You're all on the material plane, right? So then dharma, arth, and kama. Kama is your desires. So if you have your desires, then those desires can also be fulfilled by following the instructions which are there in the Vedas, right? And the 4th thing is moksha. Moksha is that you get liberated from all these things. So then it's a very contrast. At one end, we are thinking about economic prosperity, and which is Diwali today. We talk about economic prosperity. On the other hand, we are talking about moksha. That getting completely out of this cycle, right? And so the reason here is that as long as we have our desires, as long as we have karma in our desires there, to fulfill our desires, we need some artha, we need some economic, we need some money there, right? And you will to fulfill your desires, and for you to get economic gains, proper economic gains, right, which will not have any side effects, you should be following dharma, right? People make money from adharma also, right? But you should be following good religious principles to get good money, clean money, right? Like that. So as long as you have these desires, you will go through this cycle of birth and death, and you will continue to um, do dharmic activities, and you'll get some credits, and then you will enjoy, you get economic prosperity, your desires will be fulfilled. And then when will your desires will be fulfilled? Never, right? So once you have a desire, then you'll get to a bigger desire, a bigger desire, and a bigger desire, right? So but at a certain stage, as you continue to do these things, following the dharmic rituals, following the proper method, these desires will also go away, right? But the desires will go away when you combine them with bhakti. Okay? So after a person has come to the end of the Vedas, studied all the Vedas, practiced all the Vedas, right? Then, in order to get out this moksha and to get real moksha, the person has to get some bhakti. So his name is called Bhakti Vedanta. this emphasizing that really at the end of the Vedas, and that's why in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vedesta sarve aham eva vedyo. So he says that, okay, fine, on the superficial level, Vedas might appear to be telling you that, okay, you want this is how you get it. You know, you don't want that, this is how you avoid that. The Vedas are telling you how to live happily in this world. But no, he's saying all that is fine. Vedesta sarve aham eva vedyo. From the Vedas, I am to be known. So the true proper culmination of Vedas is when you develop bhakti for God, when you become a bhakta, so to speak, right? So he was given the title, Srila Prabhupada was given the title Bhakti Vedanta because he was at that level. And why did he come here to this? If he was already at that level, why did he have to come here? He was already out of the cycle. He would be, going to the higher planets, transcendental planets, not in the material world and all that. So people like Srila Prabhupada, when they get something good, they want to share it with others as well. Like, for example, if you find a good restaurant, give me the name of a good restaurant in Fremont. You guys don't go to restaurant? Sorry?
बीकानेर कुछ चल रहा है
No.
नया बीकानेर आया ना बीकाजी
Bikaji. Okay, yeah. Okay, so Bikaji. Now you go to Bikaji and you eat some chaat papdi in Bikaji, and you love it, right? What do you do the next thing? You go and tell all your friends. Bikaji is very nice. You should go there. So that's what preachers do, and that's what Srila Prabhupada is doing. That whenever you find something really nice, you want to share it with others if you are good at heart. So that is why he came here at the age of 69 to spread this to the Western world, because the culture here was very different. The time when Srila Prabhupada came to USA was a time when hippie culture was at its zenith here, right? And Srila Prabhupada, through his teachings, converted the hippies, some of them, into real die-hard devotees. Exactly. My spiritual master's wife, she's also a devotee and a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. She was a hippie. And if you look at her now, you'll be just amazed. So that is the strength of the transformative power that real and true and pure devotees of God have. That they can convert masses, like 5,000 disciples. These are 5,000 disciples who took things very seriously, but he might have affected so many more. And he's continuing to affect all of us. Even today we are sitting and we are glorifying Srila Prabhupada, and that's why he's glorifying, and that's why his name is coming so high in the acknowledgements here. And then there's also a word that is used, and he spread Vedic wisdom to every continent of the world. And I also wanted to mention in this context that when we say Bhakti Vedanta, Vedas, Ant is end, so Vedanta, Vedas have ended. Now after that, what book am I going to read? I read all the Vedas. Then after the Vedas, well, the Vedas are talking you how to take care of the material world here, right? How to live happily in this material world, living a proper life, dharma, right? There is another scripture that sits on top of that, and which will not talk about anything material, but will talk completely about devotional service. And it's a literature, it's a set of books, and that book is called a Srimad Bhagavatam. Do we have a Srimad Bhagavatam in this house?
yes
Yes, awesome, right. Yeah. So Srimad Bhagavatam, now the interesting thing about Srimad Bhagavatam is that if you are reading if I tell you Rig Vedas is like 4,000, 5,000 verses, Yajurveda is X thousand verses, like thousand, they all add up to 10,000. Then on top of that, there is Purana, another tens of thousands of verses. How am I going to read all that? Right? If I read one verse a day, I need 53 years to finish like 18,000 verses. Like that's the whole lifetime gone in that. So nothing to worry about that. Nothing to worry. And the reason for that is that when a person gets exposed to Srimad Bhagavatam, as pretty much these people in this household are, and I'm pretty sure quite a few of you already have a Bhagavatam set. If you don't have it, then talk to me. It says that if you get a Srimad Bhagavatam, this means that in your previous lives, you have already read all the Vedas. So don't try to say that, oh, Shraddha talked about Vedas, there were 4 Vedas. Oh my God, how am I going to finish reading all that? She said there are thousands of verses. You've already done that. You've already gone through all that. That's why in this life, you are seeking bhakti, you're seeking God, right? So that's a good news and a good part of that, right? So Srila Prabhupada was instrumental in translating the Srimad Bhagavatam into English language and a lot of other books into English language so that we all who are more English speaking can read that. So let's go, continue on to the next paragraph. Who is going to read that?
Go ahead, go ahead.
In 1965, at the age of 70, Sri Prabhupada ventured out of India for the first time to bring Vedic wisdom to the West. Before arriving in America, he wrote the following in his preface to Srimad Bhagavatam. Human society at the present moment is not in the darkness of oblivion. It has made rapid progress in the field of material comfort, education, and economic development throughout the entire world. But there is a pinprick somewhere in the society body at large. And therefore, there are large-scale quarrels, even over less important issues. There is a need of a clue as to how humanity can become one in peace, friendship, and prosperity with a common cause. Srimad Bhagavatam will fill this need, for it is a cultural presentation for the spiritualization of the entire human society.
Thank you for reading that, right? One more point that I forgot to mention, if you go back to the previous words, previous paragraph, and fourth line in that previous paragraph on page 15 of our book, where we were talking about his name, we said Abhay Charanavinda, we explained that. We talked about Bhakti Vedanta, right? Swami Prabhupada means one who is taking shelter of the feet of the Lord. There's also the word Srila in front of his name, right? Srila. And the Srila is mentioned there. It says students add Srila to the names of the teachers to indicate. So why is he called Srila? That is to indicate that their teachers not only live in the beauty of reality, but also awaken it in others. That's why they're called Srila. You occasionally find some of the great gurus, they address them as Srila, like that. So now I already told you about Srila Prabhupada's, venture into America. And I said that he brought only 40 rupees, like 50 cents with him to America. At that age, no medical insurance, no nothing, right? He just came. He had faith in the Lord. He came here to preach. And he brought copies of Srimad Bhagavatam with him to distribute here. And in the preface to that book, Srimad Bhagavatam, that Srila Prabhupada has written, he's saying that human society at the present moment is not in the darkness of oblivion. We are not in the dark ages, right? We are not those people who used to the Stone Age or any of those ages, right? We are really very progressed civilization. It says it has made rapid progress in the field of material comforts, right? Earlier there used to be a chair. When I was growing up, there would be a wooden chair. Maybe it would have a cane. Maybe it would have a cushion. That's sort about it. And then there was sofas came. The sofa was a fantastic thing. And now we have the reclining sofa. You can put your feet up, and now you have a sofa that will operate with the remote. So we are working so hard on enjoying and making and working on our material comforts. That's what he's saying. That we have made rapid progress in the field of material comforts, education, right now. A lot of people can get educated. In the earlier times in India, education was not easily available to everybody. You had to be born in a specific section of the society to get. And economic development throughout the entire world. Right? I remember when I was in India, I had to be in the queue for 7 or 8 years before I could have a telephone installed. Now I go back to India, like everybody has a cell phone. Your servants have a cell phone, your maid servants have a cell phone. Everybody has got that. That's the economic progress throughout the entire world. But there is a pinprick. Oh, so the balloon is being, pricked somewhere in the society body, social body at large, right? So even after you have so many things, I remember when my mom used to cook, there was no mixie, there was no grinder. She would have a stone and she would nicely, without any complaint, she would grind, and lovingly cook for the family, right? And now today, us, we have got all the gadgets, right? There will be a Vitamix blender, there will be a separate KitchenAid mixie, there will be dough makers and all that. But still we hate to cook, right? And we will fight with the husband as, why are you not helping me to cook, right? So this is what Srila Prabhupada is pointing out, that despite all this material gains and that material progress that we have made, there's something that is wrong. Why are there fights? There are more divorces now, right? At least for till a decade or two, India was immune from divorces, right? But now it's happening left, right, and center. Okay. So why is that happening? Even over smaller issues, people fight. Right? And the fight will happen that in the morning, the wife will say, I want you to drop me there. I need to go do grocery shopping. The husband will say, I need the car because I want to go play golf. So there's bound to be a fight, right? But if both the wife and the husband, they get up in the morning and say, hey, we have to rush to the temple. Where is the question of fighting? Because they have a common goal. So the problem right now is that the society does not have a common goal, a common focus for our attention. Somebody's interested in this, somebody's interested in that, somebody thinks this is the best thing, somebody thinks that being an athlete is the best thing, somebody thinks you have to become a millionaire to be happy. Nobody is happy, even after getting all that, right? So, and then there are quarrels. So to have quarrels, how does the quarrel happen? Well, in the earlier ages, like many, many millions of years ago, we are talking about that millennium, which is known as Satyuga, where people were very righteous. The fights used to happen. Fighting would still be there. That's nature. Fighting will still happen, but the fighting would happen between two planets, the planets of the demigods and the planets of the demons. So it'll be like that. Right? Then in the next millennium, the fights happen. But the fights will happen between two different countries. For example, the occasion of Diwali, we know there was a fight between Lord Ramchandra in India and Rama over in Sri Lanka. So two different countries will fight. Then when you go to the next age, which is Dwapar, and in that age, the fightings, get closer. So there was a fight between, what is the biggest fight of Dwapar? Mahabharata, right? And who were fighting? Cousins were fighting, right? So the fighting is happening within the family, larger extended family. Now, but then we come to Kali Yuga, which is the current millennium where we are. The fight happens within the family, not with cousins. That will obviously be there. But wife and husband will fight, father and son will fight, mother and daughter will fight, brother and sister will fight. It's a known fact. It's written in the scripture. This is bound to happen. Why? Because none of them have a common goal. So you need to have a common goal. And so this fight that is happening, and countries are also fighting. I mean, I'm not saying that only families fight, but at that level, everything is going on. And so to prevent the fighting between two countries, what is the body that has been formed where all the countries participate?
UN.
UN, right? And UN is able to prevent the fighting. Why? Right? Because to a certain extent, they will go, right? And then the moment a bigger country thinks, oh, if I make this decision, then it's going to affect me economically, then it will just, not support that. It will veto and it will come out of that. So this fighting, the NATO will not be able to solve this fighting problem, right? Because America will think this is mine, China will think this is mine, India will think this is mine. But if all of them realize that this is everything that belongs to God, belongs to Krishna, then this fighting is going to fight. So that is the common goal that we should have. And unless and until we don't have that common goal, this pinprick will happen. We are inflating in our material progress, but that balloon is going to burst, right? And it's already bursting. Because despite all that, we are not happy. Like that, right? Okay, so let's read, continue to read here.
To teach the practices recommended by the Vedas in today's world, Prabhupada brought with him books of Vedic wisdom that he had begun to translate from the original Sanskrit. He taught what Krishna teaches in the Gita, that we are metaphysical beings living in physical bodies, and that true knowledge means knowing the difference between spirit and matter. Before his departure from this world in 1977, he wrote 80 books, opened 108 spiritual centers around the world, and initiated 5,000 students into the practice of Bhakti Yoga, all in just 12 years.
Yeah, please continue.
The knowledge and practices in this book, imparted to me by Srila Prabhupada, come from a bygone culture in which people lived in harmony with the gross and subtle laws of nature, kept themselves fit in the body, mind, and spirit, and worked tirelessly to do good for others.
Tirelessly to good too. Thank you so much for reading that, right? So in the paragraph prior to what you had written, where he was talking about Srimad Bhagavatam, right? And he says that we don't have a common goal, and he's saying Srimad Bhagavatam will fill this need. So it's very important for all of us to read the Srimad Bhagavatam. If you just read one verse a day, it will take you 53 years. So you can bump up the reading, right? And finish it. We have an app actually that you can install on your cell phone, and which will tell you, it's called Be a Sage, page by page. And you can set a goal and say, I want to finish reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Where is Ritvik? Okay. Okay. Okay, so we can, he can. Definitely. Instead of going, he is an avid reader. For those of you who don't know, he has memorized the entire Bhagavad Gita. And then he's how old? 10, 12, 12. Yeah. So you can set a goal and say, I want to finish reading the Bhagavatam in 1 year. It will tell you how many pages you should read every day. And it will prompt you to read. You can report your progress and things like that. So we built that specially to help people read this book. And here Srila Prabhupada says in the preface of the book, and I really like the sentence, it says that Srimad Bhagavatam will fill this need to have a common cause, right? And Srimad Bhagavatam will explain, like, some of the questions that people ask, especially in this material world, is that when you say there is God, they'll show me the proof. Why should I, bow down to God? So Srimad Bhagavatam will tell you what God has done, what He makes, how this universe is created, how intelligent He is. Then you will automatically and naturally you will bow down to Him like that, right? So he's saying Srimad Bhagavatam will fill this gap, and it is for the cultural presentation. So to improve our culture, right now our culture is completely gone to the dogs, despite all the development that we've done in society. So it's saying that it's for the cultural presentation, for the re-spiritualization of the human society. It's a very important point that he's making, that re-spiritualization, which means that I was spiritual. I'm just being re-spiritualized. So don't go away with this guilt feeling that, or this feeling of fear that, oh, this seems to be so difficult. She talked about Vedas and now Bhagavatam, how do I read it? I have a job and all that. And will I ever become a devotee? So the good news is that you're already a spirit, you're already a devotee. You just need to be re-spiritualized. So start reading the scriptures, get together, read these books together. And that's why we formed this whole group here so that we could read and complete this book over there. So then, of course, the next two paragraphs were talking about what Srila Prabhupada has done, and we already talked about that. And so basically, in the last line of this book, of the paragraph of this chapter, he is saying that people in the bygone culture, that culture is gone, right? The people lived in harmony with the laws of nature, right? And that is what we are violating left, right, and center these days. So all the disharmony comes from there. And why do we don't feel bad about violating the laws of nature, right? Because we don't feel that relationship with the nature. But once you read the Bhagavatam, understand what a tree is, understand that the tree also has a soul, understand that who is the creator, the same person who creates the trees and the beautiful flowers and the fishes and everything, that person also has created you, then you will feel a relationship with rest of the things in the society, rest of the things in the nature. And then you will hesitate to mess around with the nature. As long as you think that I am the Lord of all I survey, right? I am the monarch of all I survey. And then you will have no hesitation at all in, not caring whether the ozone layer is breaking down, not caring about pollution, not caring about throwing plastic bottles into the rivers and all that, because I don't care. But the moment you realize that, oh, this is made by Krishna, this is made by God, I should not mess around with it, then this pollution and all that will automatically go away. And that's why Srila Prabhupada is saying that this book is going to solve the problems and not any kind of thing. What's going to happen? I mean, we have realized that there are problems, and then we are saying, okay, let's just do something about it. So we produce a lot of plastic, and then we say, okay, we are going to bury it deep down in the earth. So we are just covering the evidence, and we're not solving it, right? And we continue to produce more and more of the plastic, cut down more and more of the tree, right? So that is not going to help us there. Right? So I still have a few minutes, and I'd like to start with the main part, which is introduction to questions. And it says a very interesting thing that the chapter is titled "Questions Are the Answer." It's a very interesting thing. How can a question be the answer, right? So let's continue reading. We'll do one more paragraph on this book, which will give us an impetus to assemble again and then read it again. Okay, who wants to read? Okay, Prabhu Kupal, go ahead.
The most powerful punctuation mark. Punctuation marks do practical work. A period stops us. A comma announces upcoming information. A comma divides data. But the most powerful punctuation is the question mark. It's shaped like a hook, and with it, you can catch people's attention. You can snag ideas from the depths of your subconscious mind.
It can take you beyond the mundane to the metaphysical. With the questions, you can discover truths of ancient wisdom, investigate your own heart, and discover your true eternal nature as an individual conscious being.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. So what a beautiful way of opening this whole thing about the questions. The book is called Four Questions Asked. And have you ever looked at, like, we have been using period, anybody going who doesn't know, and I remember when I was growing up in India, I came to America to learn that it was called a period. In India, it was called full stop because we go by the British style of the English. So now I say the period stops you, right? And a colon is telling you something more is coming, and a comma is dividing the data. But the question is really the hook, right? It's shaped like a hook, and it'll hook and grab the attention of the people. So one of the things that that was mentioned, and we had discussed this in our previous sections, was there's a simple Vedic aphorism here which says Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Now is the time for you to inquire, which means inquire means question. Now is the time for you to question. And that's why in this particular paragraph that Gopal Prabhu read just now, it says that with a question, you can discover truths of ancient wisdom, investigate your own heart, and discover your true eternal nature as an individual conscious being. And that Atato Brahma Jigyasa that we read, right? Now is the time to inquire. And what's the question I'm going to inquire? Like, what's the menu for lunch? Are you available this weekend? No, those are not the kind of questions we are going to ask. Atato Brahma Jigyasa means that now that we've got this human body, because our ancient literature tells us that a soul can transmigrate through various kinds of bodies. It can become a plant, it can become a flower, it can become a vegetable, it can become a lion, a dog, a cat, a reptile, and a human being. So the human being is the highest level, and when you get a human body, then it is your duty to inquire. Inquire and ask that question, what is my purpose of life? Now that I've got this body, which is so many times more powerful and better equipped than any of the other bodies, right? For example, if you look at the big animals, ferocious animals, lion is there, elephant is there, hippopotamus, right? They are very swift and they can kill you. But still the human beings are able to tame them, right? Because we have a superior intellect than them. So we have got so many assets that have been provided to us. Then the question we should ask is that, what am I supposed to do? Okay. So we'll stop here until we finish reading this book and we get the answers to those questions. We'll pause here. We have 3 more minutes left before I need to end this. Any reflections, any thoughts, or any questions? Let me know. Or reflection basically means you repeat anything that you heard in the class that you think you're going to carry away today to your home. You can open your books and recap. Okay, I'm not expecting you to remember everything by heart. Go ahead, take the microphone and speak. And those of you who are on Zoom, if you want to put any more reflections on chat, I'll be happy to read them out.
You said one thing regarding plastic, right? That we have been still producing. We've already caused damage to that. How do we undo that kind of damage? Is there a way to kind of think about that, those kind of problems which are like kind of irreversible in nature?
Absolutely. But then it's all about the intention. What is the intention of doing that? A person can work and do research totally with the motive of that I'm going to patent my research and I'm going to make $1 million out of that. So people made millions after creating a mess. I'm going to make my millions by undoing that mess. And in that process, I might create a mess of my own, right? But I don't care. It's very short-lived. I know of a very well-known food chain. It's in New York. And the proprietor has absolutely prohibited his children to eat in his own restaurants. Right, so that's the level that is there. But if you're thinking that I want to save this planet so that people will have less vagaries in life, so that they can, having got a human body, they can dedicate their time to pursuing who am I and what is my main role in the life, then that's a good thing. So always, whenever you are about to do something, ask this question. And that's why this book is about ask the relevant questions. Questions should be relevant. And depending on the kind of questions a person asks, right? That's why in this chapter, we said questions are the answer. The way you ask that question, you will get an appropriate answer. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling Arjuna that tadviti paripatena pariprashnena sevaya updeshyanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshana. So he said, if you want to know the truth, then you have to inquire, but inquire with humility. So sometimes people don't inquire with humility. Their purpose there is to ask a question so that they're testing the teacher. Does the teacher know this? Does the teacher know that? The teacher said something, you open ChatGPT and find out something more, then you go and ask that question. Like that. So the question has to be uttered with humility. And those who have known the truth. And so the way material science and material knowledge progresses and how you acquire material knowledge is very different from how you acquire spiritual knowledge. It's completely different. For example, when I grew up, we were told to respect our teachers, and we did. And then I could see the deterioration. And nowadays, you don't even have, I was totally, completely, what to say, bewildered when I came here to USA. And I was a manager in a firm, and one of my subordinates came, and then they had gone. It was I was in the training department, and she had spent a very long time teaching, standing in the class, and then she came and said, "Yeah, I'm so tired." She took her feet and put them on my table. I was like completely bewildered because it's just never done. A thing like that is never done in India. So I was talking to somebody from India. They were like, "Oh yeah, the students do it in the class. You go to university, they have their feet up." So four hours a day. I'm going to eat this. Is it worth eating? I'm going to, like that. It goes on and on. Yeah. So the takeaway for us, it should be like today, we look deep, ask the right questions, and continue our life like that. Okay.
How practical is that? Like asking a question before you do everything?
It becomes a habit. It's a very good point that you bring up because so how does an action materialize or manifest, right? So first there is thinking. You think, right? And then there is feeling. Then there is willing. And then there is acting. So there are three stages that happen before an action happens, right? And you will be so surprised, or not surprised, but if you observe, there's hardly any gap between thinking, feeling, willing, and acting. For example, if somebody abuses us, They say something bad. And then the person says something bad and the slap comes immediately. How dare you do that? So the thinking happened. This person is saying something bad to me. Feeling, I'm feeling bad. He's saying bad things to me. Willing, I'm going to slap. And then the action slap happened, right? So with practice, and that is the practice we talk about here in our scriptures, with practice, we are supposed to increase this gap. And to stop an action at a later stage is very difficult. After you have already willed that I'm going to slap that person, it's very difficult to hold the hand back. But in the beginning itself, when you're thinking that this person is saying bad words to me. Now, our practice here is we are taught that, once a person is misbehaving you, there are so many things that you can think about, right? Instead of just like, why is this person misbehaving with me? First thought is we look at the karmic reactions. This person is misbehaving. Probably I have already misbehaved with this person. It's my karmic reaction which is coming back. That's one way of handling it. Second way of handling is this person is misbehaving. Like how kids, they become cranky, right? Why? They haven't slept. It's such a simple reason, but they're so cranky, right? So maybe this person is behaving like that because there's something going on. How can I help that person? So now you see that our reaction becomes completely different from a reaction which was either that I'm a victim to that person was already my victim from previous birth, or to this person is disturbed, how can I help, instead of saying how can I hinder and how can give some grief to that person. It is a practice. It's a practice, and our mind is actually wired. Our mind is wired from millions and millions of births that we have taken, and we have lived in this world. Actually, there was a just give me 1 second. Um, we have millions of births, and in what we have done in all this is that we have we register when we do some action. The mind registers that okay, if this thing happened, this is the action we're supposed to do. If this is a stimulus, this should be a response. This is a stimulus. So all those algorithms are there in your mind, and it gets carried from one life to another life to another life to another life, right? So our mind, the algorithms get messed up sometimes because of the company that we keep. So the first thing that we need to do is to undo all these algorithms that have been etched in our mind. And to do that, there are practices that are prescribed, especially in this millennium that are there, that will cleanse your algorithms, right? And so once the algorithms are clean, that's why you will notice that how, different people react very differently. Even in a family, two sisters will respond very differently to the same situation. Why? The algorithms are different. And so it's all about purifying the mind, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Cheto Darpanamarjanam, you cleanse the mirror of your mind. And in this yuga, our cleansing of the mirror of the mind, the easiest way to do, like I was talking about the various millenniums, 1 millennium where I said people used to fight between the planets, right? So in that millennium, the recommended practice for cleansing the mind is to do mind control, is to do meditation, right? In the second yuga, meditation is not possible. Mind is getting a little bit disturbed. So in the second yuga, what they do is they will do big yagyas like Ashwamedh Yagya, Rajasuya Yagya. They will do those kind of things. And each yagya cost about $1 billion, like that. Then in the next yoga, people become, more disturbed and less fortunate. Money also goes down. And so they can't do all these big yagyas. So they'll say, okay, let's create a temple and we'll all go there and we'll do the yagya there. Let's combine, pool the money together, like how we carpool to save the expenses. So they'll just do that. Right? Then in this yoga, which is Kali Yuga, everything is so messed up. Mind is messed up, relationships are messed up, food is messed up, everything is completely messed up. They say, you cannot even do what yoga will you do? What ghee will you put? The ghee itself has got fish in it, right? So what will you do that? So they say, okay, you just sit down and you chant. And the mantra that we chant here, now I'm going to speak the mantra and you can repeat after me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So what happens is when you speak these mantras and you also hear it at the same time. So you have to chant and you have to hear. When you hear the mantra goes. Now we have got two bodies, right? We have got a gross body and then we also have a subtle body. Like we have a sthul sharir and we have a sukshma sharir. See, the sukshma sharir is the manas. The mind is their subtle body and the mind stays in the heart. And inside the body, just as you have got arteries and digestive intestines and nervous system, there's so many pipes in your body, right? So similarly, in your subtle body also there are pipes, but because it's subtle, you cannot see with your eye, right? You can't see your mind, right? Can you see your mind? Can you see your intelligence? No, because you're all subtle. So in your subtle body, from your ear, there's a pipe that goes to your heart. And so when you hear what you're chanting, those vibrations, they go into your heart. And when I want to, suppose this is a book and it is full of dust, typically what we do when we are dusting, right? And the dust falls off. So when you vibrate something, or for example, clean the carpet, you take the carpet and you beat it, the carpet moves and the dust falls down. So similarly, in our heart, our mind has to be vibrated. So when the mind vibrates, all the dust of, lust, anger, greed, pride, all these dirty things which are in the mind, their dirty things are dissolved out. Takes a long process, but it can be done. And guaranteed, you will see the effect. Guaranteed, you will see the distance increasing between thinking, feeling, willing, and actually acting. And you will notice that. You'll notice that like that. Once I remember I was reading, and this will be the last thing that I'll speak today because I'm standing between lunch and you. So there was, how when teenagers growing up, when they're young, they prim and proper, they use the proper language. And then as they start becoming teenagers, they start bringing in some bad words in their language and they feel very nice, 4-letter words. And so there was this set of teenagers who were teenagers, so their hormones were playing, so they were doing all that, but they were also good at heart. So they wanted to stop using these bad words in their language. So they said, okay, let's do one thing. Every time a person uses a bad word, right? And if I catch you using a bad word, here's a jar. I want you to put a dollar bill in it. And so the person who came with this idea, the others liked it so much that they immediately applauded it. And immediately they had to put down so many dollar bills into the jar. This was that habit, right? The habit you cannot do without it. But over a period of time, you will get rid of it. Yeah? As you become adults, you then hopefully we stop using all these languages, right? So just in a certain space. So similarly, all these actions, reactions that we do through suitable practice. And that's what Srila Prabhupada is saying. He said that Srimad Bhagavatam is going to help you re-spiritualize. Re-spiritualize, you're already spiritual. It's just that you got dirty. You just keep yourself. A good question and good point there. Are we doing the Damodar stream? Okay, let's do that. Okay, the devotees who are joining us here on Facebook, YouTube, as well as Zoom, thank you so much for attending. I'm sorry there was a glitch. We had a network there. I'm going to